You ready?
Yeah.
You ready? All right, hold on. Here we go.
What's going on, everyone? This is the My Aggie Nation podcast. I'm Travis Brown with the Eagle, myaggienation.com. Also with co-hosts Alex Miller with the Eagle. Alex, what's up?
Oh, it's a great day. We're talking about one of my favorite subjects, but I'll let you introduce that in a second.
You're right. We have Zach Taylor, WTAW. Zach, how's it hanging?
It's going good, guys. How are y'all?
Doing lovely. And our special guest, he's been around the podcast from time to time. That's former A&M defensive tackle and just general food connoisseur, Jay Arnold. Jay, how the heck are you?
Well, thank you for asking. I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for having me on. Obviously, whenever it's the topic is food, I think I usually get a call from you guys.
Well, we've teased it enough. Today, the entire episode is just going to be food because we have Eagle food reporter Alex Miller here. We have the foodie himself, Jay Arnold, and Zach, me and Zach will be a part of this too. But the whole episode, we're just going to break down SEC road trip food options, our best places to eat in the southeastern portal of the country, and we're going to have some really special guests to help us go through the road trips that Aggie fans can take this year. So without further ado, let's start with those special interviews that we did. First, I talked with former A&M beat guy, KAG sports director, Colin Deaver, who now is over in El Paso, but he's from the great state of Colorado, Durango. He spends a lot of time with family in Denver. A&M's going to go to Denver to play Colorado this year. So let's hear Colin Deaver's picks for Denver, Colorado. Colin, what are your eating picks for Aggie fans who are heading up to Denver for that CU A&M game at Empower Field?
It's a Mile High Stadium, first of all. It is not whatever they think they need to call it. Yeah, man. I mean, Denver obviously is such a big city now. It's grown so much even in the last 10 years. Like so many people are moving there from everywhere. So many different options for A&M fans who aren't going to, you're only going to have 2 to 3 days in Denver. I think you gotta, first of all, for me, there's a place called the View House, which they have a few different locations in and around Denver. There's one in South Denver, right off I-25, that has a really great view of the mountains. Their main one is right down by Coors Field. And it just great views. They have patio, great food, drinks, patio views of Coors Field. The mountains, it's just awesome. So I would definitely say that if you're looking for a going out type scene, the Denver version of Northgate, as it were, would be 16th Street. That's right through downtown Denver. It's not too far. If you're taking, I know a lot of people nowadays will take, if you fly into Denver, you take the light rail, into downtown at Union Station. 16th Street is right off of Union Station, and there's all sorts of bars, restaurant. I mean, I can't even remember all the restaurants and bars that are on that street because it's just packed full of shopping. It's the, I would say the main tourist trap of Denver, but there is a lot of good food and good bars that people can go to and hang out at and get a good meal. If you're looking for some good Mexican food that's kind of off the beaten path, there's a place called Little Anita's that's kind of down by the University of Denver on Colorado Boulevard. I live in El Paso, Texas now, and it stacks up to any Mexican food that's down here. So Little Anita's, if you need your Mexican food fix while you're in Denver. If you're looking to do a touristy type thing, Elway's, of course, John Elway's restaurant. There's Mike Shanahan's Steakhouse. Those have always gotten good reviews. The best brewery in Denver, at least to me, is called Station 26 Brewing Company. They don't really distribute outside of Denver yet, but they have my favorite beer in the world is the Tangerine Cream Ale. And that's at Station 26 Brewing. So if you're fiending for some good craft beer while you're in Denver, definitely go check that out. The last one on the list that I got it's now a hashtag national brand, but it's fantastic. It's Chiba Hut. And if, for those who don't know what Chiba Hut is, all of their it's the most Colorado thing ever. All of their sandwiches are named after like different slang terms for marijuana. But the sandwiches are fantastic. They're really, really good. So if you're, again, feeding for something that's very Colorado, but also fantastic food, Chiba Hut is your spot. And I think they sell t-shirts. Their logo is like palm trees with like marijuana leaves. So it's a fantastic place. And they have great food too. So
there you go.
That would be my short list.
There you go. Well, I'll throw a curveball at you that we didn't go with before, and I did this to Charean Williams too. You spent a lot of time here in Aggie Land. When you come back, what's the one place in Aggie Land you have to go to?
Wings and More, not close. I
had it for dinner last night.
It's the only place I crave. I lived there for 3 years. It's basically the only place I still crave, on maybe not a daily basis, but I definitely crave it once a week. What was that place in downtown Bryan that we would go to?
Proudest Monkey.
Yeah, that place is good too. I definitely think about that place sometimes. So I can never remember the name. And Wings and More just rolls off the tongue.
All right. Let me move on to the next one.
Oh.
Okay. In 3, 2, 1. Next, we'll hear from an Aggie great. That is Charean Williams, former A&M former student, former Pro Football Writers Association president. She's a Hall of Famer, journalist extraordinaire. She is up in the DFW area, of course, and she has some great picks for Arlington and Fort Worth for the Arkansas game that takes place at AT&T Stadium. Let's hear what Charean had to say about her picks. Charean, thank you so much for giving us a few minutes of your time. A&M, again, is traveling up to your neck of the woods. That's AT&T Stadium, home of Jerry World, home of the Cowboys, to play Arkansas. So for fans that go up there and have gone up there for years, plenty of years in the past, what is some of your favorite places to eat that A&M fans can hit up when they go to that game?
Well, Travis, I'm going to stay on kind of the Arlington and the west side of DFW. You actually probably know more about Dallas than I do, but I think Arlington is probably underrated as a restaurant town because there are so many good places to eat, so many good places now by the stadium to eat. And I would start one of my favorite places is the barbecue. It's called Jambo's, JAMBO''S, and I love it. I think that the ribs are the best ribs I've ever had. It's fantastic barbecue. There's a lot of places right by the stadium. If you want to go right before the game, the Biscuit Bar and the Social House and Torchy's, of course. I know there's Torchy's everywhere, but they're all located kind of in the same area within walking distance of the stadium that you can go to before the game. And of course there's Texas Live. Now Texas Live to me is to go have a beer or a burger or something like that. I don't know that it's really good dining other than beer and maybe a burger, but it is located right there at the stadium. It's at Globe Life Field. It's attached to Globe Life Field, so it's very convenient and very close. There's a hole-in-wall place called Fork in the Road that I really like. That's pretty underrated. It's really a good lunch place and not far. And, of course, there's Babes. And Cane Rosso is the best pizza place, has been voted the best pizza place in DFW. They're all over DFW. It is a local chain. But there is one in Arlington just recently, and it's very good pizza. Kincaid's, of course, is in Fort Worth and in Arlington both. And Jay Gilligan's Bar is pretty close to the stadium, too, and that's a local bar and grill that's really good. Fort Worth, of course, you got Heim Barbecue is very famous for their barbecue. Riata's famous. Joe T. Garcia's, of course, for their Mexican food. And best burger I've ever had is at Rodeo Goat in Fort Worth. So that's some of my favorite places. There's tons. Like I said, I just think Arlington is very underrated for restaurants, and you can't go wrong. There's more than what I listed there. Just tons of different kinds of food. Prince Lebanese is right down the street from the stadium, and it was on Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives not very long ago. So that's another one. So there's just tons of restaurants in Arlington that you don't even need to go to Dallas or Fort Worth or venture out that far if you're looking to stay right in the Arlington area before the game.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I'll throw you a little bit of a curveball. I didn't ask you this beforehand, but since we are talking about food all over the place and you are a regular to College Station, what is the one place in College Station that you always have to go to when you come down for a media event or for a football game?
Well, Republic is, I've only eaten there once, but the best steak I think I've ever had. I'm ready to go back. It was that good that I'm ready to go back. But most places that I grew up there with, going to college, and then at my time at the Eagle, are all gone. The Tom's Barbecue and Grapevine Restaurant, places that only the old school people in Burlington College Station remember. So I don't know if there's really one set place that I have to go. I like Jose's Mexican Food in Bryan is probably the place I go to more often than not. I do love their Mexican food, so you probably will find me in Jose's. If I have a long few days in College Station, I'll eat there at least once.
Up next, we talked with the Eagles' own Kenny Wiley, who is a proud Missouri graduate, talking the best places to eat in Columbia and even Kansas City and St. Louis as the Aggies travel to face Missouri for the first time since 2013.
Do you even work at a newspaper if you don't work with the journalists that went to Missouri?
Well, I'm glad I can fill that quota, Yeah.
Well, Kenny's coming on. A&M, they're making their first trip to Columbia since 2013. Johnny Manziel was still quarterback for the Aggies.
Yes, I was there.
Yeah, I was too. I was too. Well, aside from great games on the field, where are some great places in Columbia that people can go to, Kenny?
Yeah, well, Alex, I think everyone knows Shakespeare's Pizza. That's kind of the Columbia, Missouri staple. And to be clear, it is good. I ate there a lot and loved it, but I wanted to mention 3 other spots. So the place I went most for sure is Ernie's. Ernie's is a breakfast and lunch diner. It's at 10th and Walnut in the downtown area. And it's just really good vibes, great food, pretty small, but just like if you want really good breakfast food and a good place to chat with folks in Columbia, that's a terrific place to go. That's Ernie's. So when I was at Mizzou, which to be clear was a decade ago, 07 to 11, which is kind of wild to think about, the sort of big event place that I loved to take people when they visited was Flat Branch Pub. And Flat Branch is it's a bar. It's got really interesting, fun food and a really nice vibe. So I think if you want to have a good hearty meal with, it could be 2 people, could be 6 or 7 folks, Flat Branch is an awesome place to hang out. And if you just want a crowded bar with lots of TVs, good vibes, I think Campus Bar and Grill, locally known as Big 12, at least as of a few years ago, last time I was there it was. And Campus Bar and Grill, it's just, there's a lot of people, a lot of folks watching football. I remember watching Alabama and A&M from there and when I was visiting one weekend. And it's just a great place to chat with people and have a good time.
Well, Kenny, you know me, I'm a big barbecue guy. And, Missouri's kind of a far way away. So there might be people flying into town. You can't fly into Columbia, though. So your 2 options are pretty much Kansas City and St. Louis.
Yes.
One of my best friends, Sam, he lives in Kansas City. And so I've gotten to go there and eaten a little bit of food. The best wings in the planet, in my opinion, are at Peanut Bar in Kansas City.
Nice.
But they've also got good barbecue there. They're known for their burnt ends, I think. That's what Kansas City's known for. The 2 places, I went to Arthur Bryant's, but Joe's seems to be the other place. Have you been to either of those places down in KC?
Arthur Bryant's, yes. I feel like if you're going to Kansas City, barbecue's the way to go and just highly, highly recommend. So, yeah, I think it's hard to go wrong there.
Yeah. And then, on the other side of the state, because Columbia is pretty much dead center in the middle of Missouri.
Right down the middle.
And so some people might be flying into St. Louis. I've been to St. Louis once, and the place that we were told to go was The Hill, where you can get some really good Italian food.
Yeah, I'll say. Yeah, I can think summer of 2008, just some really good evenings on The Hill. So, in St. Louis. So yeah, highly recommend, among many other great things to do in St. Louis.
For sure. But, some people, they might be driving like me. There are some people that would drive
12 hours from Bryan College Station.
It's a drive, but some people can't get that fancy plane ticket. But a couple places in Springfield that I love.
Okay.
Lambert's. It's home of the throwed rolls. They literally throw rolls at you.
Oh wow.
I'm sure that
Never
changed
been,
a little bit because of COVID, but hopefully by now they're getting throwed rolls back because there's nothing like sitting in a place that's basically a homemade Cracker Barrel and you just stick your hand up and a 16-year-old boy's rolling around with a tray and he's just throwing rolls at you.
That's wild.
It's wild, but it's also really good home cooking. And of course, Springfield is the home of Andy's Frozen Custard, which is one of the best dessert places ever. But
yeah, well, those are two great road trip suggestions. And then you'll have another 2.5, 3 hours to go once you are at Springfield. So yeah, great call.
Maybe one of our most special guests, besides Jay, of course, in this whole ordeal is we got A&M Athletics Director Ross Bjork to give his picks to click for restaurants when you go to Oxford, Mississippi for Ole Miss this year. Of course, he was formerly the athletic director at Ole Miss, and so he spent some time there. He knows the places to go. Here's what Ross had to say.
Oh, let's do breakfast. You definitely have to go to Big Bad Breakfast.
Okay.
Big Bad Breakfast, and it's only open till like 11, so it's not like a lunch or dinner spot.
What's the best thing? What's the go-to at Big Bad Breakfast?
Honestly, everything. Really, just. But they have this spicy bacon where they take like the on like a Tabasco sauce bottle.
Uh-huh.
Where you always have like a residue around the top of it, right around the cap.
Uh-huh.
They like take that and they like mash that up and puree it, and like that becomes the spice for the bacon. Like it's unbelievable.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Yeah. But no, anything. Their omelets. Everything's good for breakfast. Pancakes. You name it.
Okay. What's your lunch pick?
So then, when you go lunch, there's all kinds of places, but there's probably two local spots. One place called Handy Andy's, and it's kind of a barbecue hamburger joint.
All right.
And then the other place is Ajax.
Okay.
Ajax is on the square.
Okay. What does Ajax offer?
It's Southern cooking. So it's like big plates. So anything from chicken pot pie to catfish to hamburgers to pork tenderloin. It's like big servings.
Okay.
Big servings. So really, really southern down home cooking.
All right. Okay. So after an Aggie win, nighttime, what's the dinner pick?
Yep. So dinner pick, you got probably too many places. You won't be able to fit them all in. You got City Grocery, which is really the most famous place. City Grocery.
All right.
Then you got St. Leo, which is a relatively new place. St. Leo.
Okay.
And then you got a place called Boure. Boure.
Okay.
Those are three. There's another one called McEwen's. MCEWEN. And then I think there's actually been a couple more that have opened since I left that are probably hot spots too. But those are the four that I would go to.
What is one dish from one of those four that's your go-to?
Man, you know what? City Grocery, shrimp and grits.
Okay.
Let's think at Bouray they have I'm trying to think of it. It's almost like a blackened like catfish like sandwich.
Okay.
St. Leo is what they're known for is kind of wood-fired pizzas.
Gotcha.
So any of their pizzas are off the charts. They have other entrees. I mean, they'll have steak and they'll have other stuff, but the wood-fired pizza. And then McEwen's is more of a steakhouse, so gotta go with a ribeye or a fillet.
Well, last but not least, maybe the best food tour place to go is Louisiana. And we had Kennedi Landry, who covers the Texas Rangers for MLB.com and is a proud LSU graduate, give us a little rundown of where to go in Baton Rouge and maybe even New Orleans, as she is a native of the New Orleans area herself. So here's what Kennedi had to say about some of the best places to go and eat in South Louisiana. I think you're repping a hat. National champions. Yep. That's the one. Well, Kennedy's also a native of New Orleans. So, as Kennedy's finding out, everything's bigger in Texas, they say. But the one thing that Louisiana might have on Texas, is their food. So we had to bring Kennedi on to talk what the best places in Baton Rouge and the New Orleans area are to go and eat at.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know y'all do the barbecue good here. I do love some Texas barbecue, but we have good everything in Louisiana. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. So Kennedi, let's discuss Baton Rouge first. Where are some kind of must hit places there?
So first of all, if you're in Baton Rouge, you're going to be on LSU's campus. The Chimes on Highland is right off of campus. Like you'll probably park near it. It's a local place. We have about 3 in Louisiana, 1 in New Orleans, 2 in Baton Rouge. It has a nice rooftop bar, lots of like local food, like gumbo, if you want grilled gator, like any type of Cajun pasta you can think of. Like Cane's is a top fave of mine, and the drinks are amazing. They have a tap room on the rooftop where like any beer you could think of is up there. Like the beer list is insane if you're a heavy drinker like we are in Louisiana. The Chimes is literally a must, like literally. And right next to the Chimes, which I know Raising Cane's is a normal thing. Like y'all have those here in Texas, I believe. I think there's one near the Ranger Stadium actually. But the original Raising Cane's is right next to the Chimes on Highland. So like the very first one that ever opened by, Todd Graves, right after he graduated from LSU, was right there. The food tastes the same for the most part, but I think it's just the fact that it's the original Cane's that I find pretty cool.
Sure.
And if you want to go to brunch, we have a few brunch places. Bistro Byron's is a big fave of mine. Great bottomless mimosas, or Another Broken Egg. Those are 2 just regular brunch places. If Sunday after the game, you need to do something. But seafood, which is a specialty here, we have Mike Anderson's, which is a little off campus, about 10-minute drive from the stadium, has great food. And if you're into oysters, if you've ever had oysters before, I don't know if you've had oysters, or
I have not had oysters.
Fried, grilled, char grilled, any way you want to cook your oysters, we do that here. And I'm a big fan, either Acme or Drago's. Drago's is a little more like upscale, kind of expensive, but Acme Oyster House, which is also about 20 minutes from campus, makes big char grilled oysters. It's literally amazing. Like, I love it. And again, I know y'all are big on your Mexican food here in Texas. Y'all love some Tex-Mex, but we do have some great Tex-Mex in Louisiana. Superior Grill is my absolute favorite. I could like eat there every day for the rest of my life. Like, again, y'all have great Mexican food here. I've been to multiple, but I love Superior Grill, and the margaritas are delicious. And I usually get a chicken quesadilla. That's like my go-to, but the chips and queso are fabulous. So, and one more, Tony Seafood. I love Tony Seafood. It's also about 15 minutes from campus. It's not going to be crawfish season when y'all are in, but they do have great crawfish when it's the season. But you can get, crabs, you can get fish, shrimp, almost anything from Tony Seafood. It's amazing. And if you want dessert, after all of that, Creole Creamery is chef's kiss.
Yeah. So moving on to New Orleans, I feel like the food scene in New Orleans is just crazy. So it can be hard to discern, okay, there are all kinds of places. Where do you start, and how do you pick and sift through all the many great places that there probably are?
Well, I think if you want to start, you should just go down to the French Quarter. It's cliche, but you got to go to Cafe Du Monde. I think that's like 100%. Get some beignets, get a cafe au lait. You can see the St. Louis Cathedral in Jackson Square is right there. It's beautiful. Again, I'm from New Orleans. I grew up in New Orleans for the first 18 years of my life, and I love this city probably more than I love anything else in the world. So you're right; it's very difficult to sift through these things, but I have a list of about 4 or 5 that I think if you're there, you have to go to. And again, I know you said Texas people love their barbecue. Blue Oak Barbecue in New Orleans is phenomenal. Really, really love Blue Oak Barbecue. And I'm a big, if I eat barbecue, I really like it to taste like I'm doing it at home, like when your dad, like you're a big, griller, Alex, so like, I love like when my dad just like grills in the backyard, it always just seems like it tastes better. That's how I feel like Blue Oak Barbecue is. Like it tastes like they're doing it at home. And again, I'm a big Mexican person. So Rum House in Uptown New Orleans is really great. If you want to, I don't know why you would leave Texas to get Mexican food, but if you're in the mood for Mexican, that's where I would go. And again, obviously all types of seafood, anywhere you go. I love Superior Seafood, not to be confused with Superior Grill, which is the Mexican place. Don't know why there's 2 places, but not to be confused with each other. And Camila Grill, which is also a little outside of New Orleans, but it's near the airport. If you're flying into New Orleans, it's in the suburbs, which is where I grew up. And if you want to take a drive, like this place called Zydeco's is about 45 minutes south of New Orleans. It's called Zydeco's. It's in Belchase, Louisiana. It's where my dad grew up. It's like a mom and pop owned seafood shop, and it's phenomenal. I go there anytime I'm home. I have to make sure that I stop at Zydeco's and get, crab or crawfish or whatever type of seafood is in season. They have an all-you-can-eat buffet, which are we still doing buffets after COVID? I don't know. I haven't been since COVID, but if we're still doing all-you-can-eat buffets, they have that. And they give you a bread pudding with the all-you-can-eat buffet. I don't know if you've ever had bread pudding before.
Ooh, I love bread pudding.
Amazing. So, and then one more is the Galley, which is also a little in the suburbs outside of New Orleans in Metairie. Great chicken if you're into that. And, there's a lot of things. You got a lot of choices.
For sure. Okay. Before you go though, gumbo, that's kind of the signature dish in Louisiana, but you can easily go wrong with gumbo. First of all, are you more chicken and sausage or seafood?
At home, chicken and sausage. If my dad's making it at home, I want chicken and sausage. But if I'm buying it from a restaurant, I'll go seafood all the way.
Gotcha.
And I can't make gumbo. Honestly, that's one of my biggest regrets is not having my dad teach me how to make gumbo before I moved out of my parents' house. But he left me some frozen gumbo last time he was here. So he's like, you just got to defrost it and make the rice. You got it.
And, are you a fan of okra and gumbo, or is that like no go for you?
It's fine. It's not a requirement. And if it's not there, I'm not crazy. Like, no, it needs to have okra, but don't let people tell you to put potato salad in gumbo. That's what the people in North Louisiana do. Don't let them tell you that.
Well, Kennedi, we appreciate you giving some insight on the delectable Cajun cuisine, and I'm hoping to make a trip down to Baton Rouge in November, and I can guarantee you I'll be eating some good food down there.
Look, hopefully I'll be there too.
A big thanks to all of those people who gave their options, their places to go while A&M fans are out on the road going to these games, trying the best cuisine in the Southeast. We have a whole panel arranged here to talk about some of those places, some of the best places to eat in any SEC college town. Well, let's go top 5s. Let's start with Jay. He's kind of the newest guy on here. Jay, give me top 5 or some best places to go that in the Southeast for A&M fans that they have to hit up.
All right. So I think the first spot I'm going to go with is going to be Baton Rouge. Obviously, I think we all know that Cajun cuisine, Creole cuisine. Both of those are absolutely incredible. But in Baton Rouge, there's a spot that my family goes to every time we visit. It's called Parane's, and it is some of the best Cajun food you'll ever have. I mean, it's just a solid restaurant. We go there.
What's your go-to dish? What's your go-to dish?
You got to get something blackened, right?
Right.
I mean, if you're going to get any kind of Cajun cuisine, you got to go with something blackened. So I usually see what they have on special. I mean, even if you're not a fish person, you can get blackened chicken that's still delicious. And got to get boudin balls. Got to get boudin balls as an appetizer. So and again, another appetizer or side, you got to get hush puppies. If you're going to go to a Cajun restaurant, you get hush puppies.
Or Long John Silver's.
Well,
I don't think so.
So we found out who's keeping Long John Silver's in business.
Yeah. Hush puppies are good, man.
I just negated all of my food picks for the rest of the episode. All right, Jay, what's next?
All right. So next, we're going to go back to College Station, and it's not necessarily College Station, but it is the Brazos Valley. I think this is a pick that will probably be seconded at some point. If you're going to go to College Station, it's worth making an hour trip west, going to Snows in Lexington. I think you have to make that trip at least once in your life, even if you're not from Texas. If you're from Texas, you probably have to make that trip 5 or 6 times at least. It's an experience unlike any other. The brisket, there's a reason it's been the Texas Monthly's #1 pick. The brisket is just unreal, but the star of the show for me is the pork shoulder steak. It's something that's not necessarily as common at other restaurants or at other barbecue joints around the state. But if you're going to go to Snow's, get the pork shoulder steak. Thank me later.
The pork steak has made more of an appearance at barbecue joints that I've seen. Like it's up and coming. It's like it's a 5-star recruit that could really do some things here in the next couple of years.
Not to mention the hero behind the scenes at Lexington is like an 86-year-old woman, Miss Tootsie. She is incredible.
Miss Tootsie is the queen of Texas barbecue, undisputed. She's an absolute legend.
She is definitely a legend.
All right, Jay, what's next?
So the next one is going to be for that Arkansas trip, which, I mean, we're not going to keep playing in Arlington for too much longer, correct?
That is correct.
Well, I at least have one Arlington spot that you have to hit, and it's not too far from Jerry World. It's going to be Hurtado Barbecue in Arlington.
Okay.
So you may notice a theme here for certain reasons, but Hurtado is actually a spot I had recently. They do some really interesting things up there. Brandon Hurtado, the pitmaster, does what he calls a Tex Q, or a Tex-Mex Q, and he has some influences from Tex-Mex cuisine and some influences from barbecue. But one thing I will say when you go there, you must get the birria tacos.
Burrito tacos. Okay.
Birria. Yeah. So they're these tacos with I don't know how you describe them. It's a meat that's basically slow smoked, and I believe he does it with brisket, and it's served with a soup or like a consomme that you dip the tacos in, and it's just a cheesy, delicious, gooey awesomeness that you must get. And of course, all the rest of the meats are incredible there as well. And he does all kinds of specials. For Father's Day, he did a smoked tomahawk steak, which I didn't get the chance to experience it, but I had a buddy send me pictures and it looked unreal.
Fantastic. All right. So that's 3. Give me 2 more.
All right. No pressure here. So for Ole Miss and Mississippi State, I'm actually going to go a little bit off the wall here. You have to get gas station fried chicken if you're in Mississippi. Now, this may sound like a weird statement, but trust me. If you go to gas stations in rural Mississippi, they have some of the best food you'll have in your life. And in particular, the fried chicken, pretty damn tasty.
So I have partaken in that before. In Oxford, Ross Dellinger wrote a story about how Ed Ogeron used to go to a Chevron station in Oxford like once a week and get chicken on a stick. And I tried it out. It was okay. I don't know if I'd pay $6 again, but I know that that's kind of a staple, and fried chicken is that's going to be one of my places, and it's in Mississippi.
So it's better than the actual deer leg that we drug behind our car through Mississippi after one Alabama game one time. But that's a story for another time. All right, Jay, finish this out.
All right. So, I thought about this quite a bit, and it's not necessarily going to be on the SEC schedule, but I think we could see an A&M appearance there. I'm talking about Atlanta.
Okay. Media days.
It could
sometimes.
be media days. Yeah, there you go. Or it could be an SEC championship. You never know. The place I wanted to talk about was Fox Brothers Barbecue in Atlanta. They do, I believe they're Texas expats. I could be wrong on that, but I guess Texpats would be the technical term there. But it's a great barbecue spot. I actually stopped there this past fall when I was driving up from Houston to Asheville, North Carolina. Made it a point to stop in there, grab some food. It's a great environment. I think it's a place that people will really enjoy. And like I said, I mean, if you're seeing A&M in the SEC championship game, I'm just saying it's a possibility. It'd be a great place to stop. Make sure that you get their spicy green beans as a side. That is one of the most delicious sides I've ever had.
There you go. Without getting too much, you can just name the restaurant. Any honorable mentions?
Yeah, I think you have to have a few honorable mentions, right? So for the DFW area, there's a ton of great barbecue spots that I would recommend people stop at. Zavala's in Grand Prairie is another one that's not going to be far from Jerry World to stop at. Heim Barbecue, which I believe you may be familiar with, Travis.
That was on Charean's list, and for sure.
Yeah, and obviously the bacon burnt ends that they have there is basically like a meat snack candy. It's the most delicious, one of the most delicious things I've ever had at barbecue wise. In College Station, we already mentioned Snow's. There's a few other places. If you head a little bit west of Austin, I don't know where people are going to be flying into. Lockhart's always a good place to stop. You have Terry Black's, you have Kreitz, you have so many legendary places out there. But I think one spot that everyone should go to at least once in their life, Leroy and Lois in Austin. They do some really, really unique stuff over there. Evan Leroy, the pitmaster, is a creative guy. Instead of serving brisket, a lot of the time they'll serve a beef cheek that's sliced, and it's a very, I don't know how to put this. It's not that different from brisket. It's a really cool experience to have something that you don't necessarily get the cut of that often at restaurants. And then they also just do some off the wall specials that are great, and you have to try at least once.
For sure.
And then I think the last part I was going to go to was back to LSU in Baton Rouge. There was a spot called Elsie's in Baton Rouge that, I mean, I'm just going to tell people to look up LC in Baton Rouge, look up that menu, and then get back to me and let me know how awesome you think that menu looks. I think it speaks for itself.
For sure. All right. You're one of our, very, very good expert foodies. Alex is the official food beat reporter of the Eagle by me. So we're going to let Alex go last because he's going to have the good opinion. Zach, I know you hold down the home fort a little bit more than us, but you can give us some College Station. You can give us some of your travels around. Give us some picks to click on food.
Yeah, again, I'm on that high school football beat, even when A&M is out of town. So that typically means that on road games that I'm hanging out here. But looking at some places around town, and you'll kind of catch on to this too. I think downtown Bryan is severely underrated when it comes to food. So they've got a lot of really good things. Cilantro is one of my favorites. I don't know if you guys have been able to frequent there yet, but I wouldn't say it's like a hole in the wall place. I mean, it is a full-fledged restaurant for sure, and they've got plenty of seating and stuff like that. But It's a little bit smaller. It's a little bit more off the beaten path, but it is Mexican food that if you're really feeling it, and I'm not saying that you're lacking of options here in town, but Cilantro is definitely a place that I could go. And then staying in downtown Bryan, Third on Main, if you haven't had a chance to check that place out yet. Now, it's owned by the same people that own Shipwreck Grill as well as Amico Nabe, which are two great places if you want to check those places out. But Third on Main really offers some cool options. The morning after is one of my favorites. It's cornbread pancakes, spicy pulled pork, white cheese queso, and a fried egg on top. So if you're talking about all the goodness, all the deliciousness that's just piled into one, you really can't go wrong there, because all of those things are pretty dang delicious. So that's kind of what I would do. Now, Jay had mentioned, there's some great options for barbecue, even just a little ways out of town. If you're talking about in town, I think Fargo's is probably the best bang for your buck whenever you're staying in town. I mean, you go and you get the rib tips. You can get a pint of those bad boys and scarf those down. And that's pretty, you can just make a meal off of that if you want. But I mean, they've got great ribs. They've got everything else go along with the side. So Fargo's is one of my favorites that I like to go to. If you're feeling fancy, if you got your fancy shoes on, it's one of them Friday nights, maybe,
fancy don't let me down.
Rotor Rangers just won a big football game and you want to celebrate with your boo thing. You could take her to Porter's, which is a pretty delicious option for those that like to go and get a nice steak, or my favorite is the pork chop. It's pretty much the size of your head, and it you can make a couple of meals off of it if you'd like, but the pork chop there at Porter's is really bar none. So Porter's is one of the places I really like to go to. Like I said, if you'd like to get a little fancy on the weekends.
It's fitting because we do refer to you as the pork chop of this podcast.
Me?
Yeah, all the time.
Chop?
Yeah,
Oh,
you're the pork chop.
They call me pork
sure.
chop because I like pork chops. Porter's is one of my favorites. And then just kind of for a different style, but you still want a great burger. You still want some great food. And Travis, you can attest to this. Harvey Washbangers is one of my faves.
I'm having dinner there tonight.
Are you really?
Yes.
Oh, you get your reservation next to one of the washing machines?
I'm going to be watching that College World Series Game 3 on that patio with a burger in my hand, and it's going to be great.
Yeah, I bet it will be. But yeah, Harvey Washbangers, one of the more unique places, not just in town, but really in the country, because you go and you can get all your laundry done, and then you can also enjoy a nice burger or a hot dog. They got all kinds of other stuff. And then if you want to talk about places that I would give kind of my honorable mention, Stella Southern Cafe, which by the way is owned by the same people of Harvey Washbangers. If you're looking for some really good breakfast food, that's a great place to go. And then I already mentioned a Mexican food place, but Mad Taco is pretty legit. You go and you get some of their GQ, their guacamole queso, and top that off with some good tacos, and it's a good time. So, and the margs are pretty good too.
There you go. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and say it because it's my turn now. Harvey Washbanger's best burger in BCS.
Oh,
my opinion. I'm going to say it. I know we can argue. That's an argument we can have later. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Hot take, Travis.
Best burger in BCS.
I have some thoughts.
I know. That's okay.
I have heard great things about Top of the Hill Burger. I have not gone there yet.
It's good. It's
not
good.
Gone there yet.
It's probably number 2, but I like me a Harvey Washbanger's burger. Okay.
I think we're gonna have to have another food episode dedicated to best burgers in College Station.
That's you just need to have your own podcast that's on food, because you are the official food reporter of the Eagle, as said by me. Okay, here's my list. We of course go and travel, and we do a lot of road tripping when we go to some of these games. Me, Robert Cessna, and usually the great Brent Zorneman. So we're road tripping along, and we have some spots that we always like to hit. Now, the caveat to this is most of the time we don't actually stay overnight in the college town, because those are some expensive hotel prices. We're the next city down the road. So sometimes a lot of these places are either somewhere as we're driving out east that we have to hit, and we always have to go to one of these places. So there might not be actually in the college towns, but if you're like us and you like a good road trip, these are some places that you need to hit first. And this one actually is in the college town, Tuscaloosa, Alabama. That is Five restaurant. Five. It's good old Southern cooking. They had delicious fried chicken. It's one that got mentioned to us as we were heading on the way to SEC Media Days in Hoover, Alabama, and stopped. And it is still to this day my favorite restaurant pick of any place we've gone on any of those road trips. So number 1 is Five in Tuscaloosa. Number 2, I'm going to go with a DFW one. I'm from the DFW area. The best fajitas I've ever had in my life is at Tupinamba in Dallas. It's on Walnut Hill and 75, owned by Eddie Dominguez, who is a former student, former A&M basketball player. The big old A&M logo on the inside. They hold Dallas mustard there sometimes, but best fajitas I've ever had in my life is Tupinamba in Dallas. So when you're up, you got to make the trek over when you go up to the A&M game at Jerry World. For number 3, I'm going to go Rusty's in Vicksburg. It's a seafood place right on the Mississippi. There's a big old paddle boat parked outside of it. I get the blackened chicken. It's delicious. Vicksburg is about a good dinner time stop for us as we're heading out towards Mississippi or whatever, Mississippi schools, Alabama schools. So we usually stop there and have a meal at Rusty's right on the Mississippi in Vicksburg. Number 4 now, I'm going to go with Strawn's in Shreveport. Again, Shreveport, not necessarily, it isn't an SEC town, but it's kind of on the way out of there. It's going to be the best strawberry shortcake you've ever had. Plus great burgers, little diner style place. It's delicious. It's right next to the camp. They have several locations. The original is right next to the campus of Centenary College there in Shreveport. Great little diner spot. Get some stuff there. Number 5, in Meridian, Mississippi, which is usually where we stay to go to Mississippi State, just down the road from Mississippi State. Weidman's in Meridian. It's this old, it's in a building that's like 200 or 300 years old or something, and the restaurant's been there since who knows when. It's an old restaurant, but they have we got brunch there. It was delicious. Got some big old fluffy French toast, but they're open all day, all kinds of offerings. It was delicious. Weidman's in Meridian, Mississippi. I'm going to do here's my honorable mentions. We a lot of times have to cover games really late into the night, and so we don't get dinner. You got to throw Cookout on there. Cookout is delicious. It is. If you're going to need that late night fix and it's the only thing, you got to go to Cookout. In Fort Worth, Maggie's R&R. It's a newer place. It's in the Magnolia District. Great cocktails, great food, delicious. Go there. In Bryan College Station, the new cool place to go is Gate 12, right there by the airport. Get to see the planes land, get some good food. Great. And then my last honorable mention, I'm going to throw in there because I do baseball. I'm a baseball guy. My favorite thing to cover to go to College World Series. If you're in Omaha, if the Aggies are in Omaha, I know this is football, but if you're in Omaha, got to go to Blatt, which is right over the fence of TD Ameritrade Park. They used to actually have one in Dallas, but it closed down. But the one up there, it is delicious food. You got to get the pretzel bites. They have pretzel bite appetizers that are delicious. That's my list. Pin flip. We're done.
You missed one. You missed one.
Well, it's your turn now, so step up.
Well, you missed 2. And Zach might know about this place, the Jalapeno Tree in Jacksonville.
We always do eat at the now. There's a reason
that is a go-to.
Jalapeno Tree didn't get honorable mention.
Jacksonville, Texas, by the way, not Florida. But also, the go-to when in doubt, if any of these places are closed, it is Longhorn Steakhouse, and we just have to mention that because Longhorn Steakhouse, it's reliable, it's consistent, and it's always open for some reason.
9 times out of 10, if we're on a road trip, we're actually probably just eating at the Longhorn Steakhouse because we know what we're going to get. So you uncovered the secret. And yes, we always eat at the Jalapeno Tree in Jacksonville on the way out of East Texas, out of town, just tradition. So you're right.
Why?
Those are two that are on the list. Not on the list, but on what we do typically. So Alex, take it away.
All right. So my number 1, Mississippi and fried chicken seem to be a common theme. So my number one is Walnut Hills Cafe in Vicksburg, Mississippi. And Walnut Hills is special because they have round tables where you can eat family style meals. If you go there, the only thing you are allowed to get is the fried chicken. If you get anything else, which Travis did, you will be disappointed. So
I got fried chicken.
Did you?
Yeah.
I thought you got blackened chicken. I'm sorry. I apologize to you, Travis. But the thing to get there is the fried chicken. So be sure to get that. Number two, there's a big rivalry in Tuscaloosa between two barbecue joints. I'll admit, I have never been to Archibald's, but I love Dreamland Barbecue. It's definitely unique. You got to go to the location in Northport. Don't go to the one in Tuscaloosa. The one in Northport, a little nicer, and it's way less crowded. The interesting thing about Dreamland is, whereas here in Texas, you go to a Mexican restaurant and get chips and salsa, they bring you a plate of white bread and barbecue sauce as kind of the free appetizer. So that's something a little unique and different. You got to get the ribs. The ribs are the thing to get there. My number three is on the other side of the state of Alabama in Auburn, Mama Goldberg's. All the tourists are going to tell you, go to Toomer's, get the lemonade. Yes, do that. It is good lemonade. But one of my favorite stories traveling in the SEC was at Mama Goldberg's. After A&M lost to Auburn in 2018, I was still in college. One of my friends that I was with, she was friends with Anders Carlson, the Auburn kicker. And he met up with
name drop.
We met up for dinner at Mama Goldberg's. Let's just say he may or may not have used his football player powers to get us free nachos, but these nachos
Wait, hold on. No, time out. Before you start, Jay, do you have football player powers that give you free food? Like, is this come with name, image, likeness? Like, that's the next thing is you get free food powers. Explain this.
That's what I would exclusively use my name, image and likeness for, if I'm being honest.
Free food.
Okay.
Well,
I
Jay
just
was
use
never
it
a
for free
kicker,
food.
though. He was never up on that echelon. He was only a defensive lineman.
So only kickers have the free food power. Is this how this works?
Well,
Yeah, I think
okay.
so. It's mostly the specialists.
Oh, okay.
These are
continue, Alex. I'm sorry. I just had to verify.
Different kind of nachos.
I had to fact check your sources there. Sorry. Continue.
Kickers get
That's fair.
nachos. Defensive linemen, they get something a little bit more substance.
We get Frio Light.
Look, if I was a restaurant and a guy like Jay comes in with a barbecue freak shirt and he's an A&M football player, no question about it, I'm giving him free food. I mean, especially with the following Jay's got on Twitter. I mean, Snow should be doing that.
Verified.
Yeah,
Hashtag
verified, unlike the rest of us. But anyway, so these nachos are a little different. They're called the Mama's Nachos. They're literally Doritos nacho cheese chips with melted cheese and jalapenos, and for some reason they are delicious. But the funny part about that story was when we were there, we were watching Alabama play LSU 3 weeks before Auburn was supposed to play Alabama. And one of the guys that was at dinner said, "Hey, Anders, like, do you think you guys are going to have a chance to beat them?" And he goes, "Absolutely not. They're going to kick our ass." And sure enough, they lost by like 4 touchdowns 3 weeks later. But that's my number three. Okay, number four, it's a pit stop place, and it's called In-Laws. It's outside of Lake Charles in a town called Iway, spelled like Iowa, the state, pronounced Iway. I don't know why, but they serve some of the best boudin I've ever had in my life. And they serve all different kinds of boudin. I got pepper jack. I got some other kind of cheese in there, and it was just incredible. So I would definitely, if you need, and it's attached to a gas station. So, if you're driving to Baton Rouge and, you get through Beaumont, through Lake Charles, and you're like, oh man, I'm not going to make it there in one tank of gas. Stop there at that gas station, get you some boudin to power through that last hour 30. And it's really good boudin. And my number five, we're going over the great state of Georgia. I love the Varsity in Atlanta. The food, it's not anything too great, but it's kind of the experience of going there in downtown Atlanta. It's right across from Georgia Tech. You can get a lot of food for cheap. But it's just something that's fun and easy. I think the location in Athens just closed though, from what I saw on Twitter. So you got to go to the one in Atlanta. But kind of the way I want to close it is, Travis, you already mentioned one of these places, but throughout the Southeast, when in doubt, there's two places that you can always really rely on. One of them you already mentioned is Cookout. The other one is Waffle House, which is something we don't have here in College Station, unfortunately.
Not a Waffle House, it's a Waffle Home.
Yeah, exactly. And so, first of all, I have a love-hate relationship with Cookout. I go there and I get excited. For some reason, I leave disappointed a lot of times, but I think I'm getting the wrong thing. But without fail, every time I get the Cheerwine slush, which Cheerwine you can't get in Texas, but the Cheerwine slush is incredible. And then, at Waffle House, you get some hash browns, you get a pancake with some chocolate chips. It's incredible. And I think their burgers are a little underrated too.
That's okay. That's a hot take. I've only eaten at Waffle House on an STC road trip once, and there's only one way to do Waffle House on an SEC road trip, and that is let Billy Lucci pay for your bill. That's the only way to do Waffle House on an SEC road trip.
Pulls out that Texags credit card.
There you go.
Jay, what are your thoughts on Cookout? I know you've got some.
I mean, first of all, Cheerwine is very, very underrated, I think, because Texans don't know about it. And if we do, for some reason, some guy got really defensive over Dr. Pepper versus Cheerwine. I think you can enjoy both, but that could just be me. But I mean, look at the value you get at Cookout. There's so many different things. I mean, you can get chicken nuggets as a side. It's absurd.
I've never heard Robert Cessna rave over something more than the milkshake he got at Cookout.
Oh, the milkshakes at Cookout.
And they have like 80 flavors or something ridiculous like that.
Golly.
Well, guys, this has been great. Jay, thank you so much for coming. I'm going to give you the last word on food. What do we leave out? What do people need to know? What is just your last word on food for the A&M faithful for this podcast episode?
Well, I was very surprised that you and Zach didn't mention Wings and More, considering how much
that's our place. Yeah,
how much we used to eat there.
That is true.
And how Jay does not like ranch dressing.
I mean, blue cheese is just better. Let's be honest here. And then I also wanted to say that it's time. You mentioned it. College Station doesn't have a Waffle House, Alex. It's time to change that. Waffle House folks, if you're listening, come to College Station. We will gladly support you.
And do more than just like a weird food truck thing that they did once and teased everybody.
Yeah.
I'll be there at 3 a.m. to get my hash browns scattered, smothered, and covered. It'll be a great experience. Come to College Station, please, Waffle House.
There you
I
go.
stole toilet paper from the Waffle House in Panama City during spring break one time. I think
my first Waffle House experience was actually on spring break in Orange Beach, Alabama.
I think we have a name for the podcast now. I think I stole toilet paper from the Waffle House in Panama City. That
sounds like a plan.
Sounds like a plan.
Are you actually Florida man, Zach?
That's what Pork Chop says. Pork Chop from Florida.
Well done. Well played. Well, everybody, thanks so much for joining us for this special food edition of the My Aggie Nation podcast. If you have any complaints, thoughts, ideas, you want to throw something out there, just tweet it at Alex Miller because he's the one that you're going to want to talk to. That's at AMill20. Is that what it is?
No, that's not right. And I'm not going to tell you what it is.
At AMill20 on Twitter. Give him all your grief and problems, and he will gladly accept it because that's what he does. So thank you for Alex, Zach, and Jay for joining us this week on this special edition, which you'll probably be listening to all the way into the football season because it's just so rich and plentiful with food knowledge. So for those guys, I'm Travis Brown. This is the My Aggie Nation podcast, and we'll see you next week.
It seemed like every day, everything just has a way to burst at the seams. But if we don't watch what we're doing, our hearts will get ruined by silly things. Good love ain't easy, girl, we know that's true. And if we wanna keep it, we gotta watch everything that we do, yeah, yeah. Don't wanna make sure, my baby, make sure you're sticking with me. Don't wanna